What's going on, everyone? How we doing? I just wanted to hop on here and say that officially I am back. I'm back. I'm ready to rock and roll. I'm ready to get this channel up and going again. Talk about some good stuff. There's been a lot of talk lately. There's been a lot of things going on that I have some opinions about that I'm excited to talk about. But first, I really just want to kind of give an update. So, as you can see around me, I hate doing these car videos. It's just too cliche, but guess what? Like, that's the way I got to do business right now. I'll walk you through what's going on with me, and I'll be completely honest with all sorts of stuff. But the biggest thing to talk about right now is the fact that I did move out of California. I moved out of California last November. I decided to move to Arizona. Moved up to Flagstaff to start off with. Trained at elevation. I was training about 8,000 feet. Decided to work a specific job as well, which I'll talk about. If you're following on my Twitter, I kind of talked a little bit about it as well. But I was a butcher's apprentice for a little while. Hit it hard during the game season. What I really wanted to do was get in there and really learn about game meat processing during that time. But it was really cool too, because the employer that I worked for also did commercial game, mainly working with the ranchers there. So we're talking pigs, sheep, and mainly cattle, mainly beef. So I got to do everything. And I worked a grueling job, 40, 50 hours a week, doing all that good stuff. I moved over 200 elk carcasses, helped process over 200 elk carcasses. I can't even tell you how many pounds of beef. I learned how to break down a beef. I learned all sorts of crazy stuff. And let me tell you, to be honest with you, it's an unforgiving job that was probably the most fun job I've ever had in my entire life. Like, my hat's off, honest to goodness, to men that are able to do it. And the biggest thing that I have to talk about when it comes to that, like, number one, it's completely underrated. It's completely necessary. The big thing is that most people have no clue how to process food, the importance of food. There were so many men that I met that were hunters for years and years and years that still had no understanding of even how to process game animals. And still to this day, there's so many people out there that think when it comes to meat, or when it comes to like a survival or whatever, all of a sudden they're just going to be able to kill an animal and know how to break it down to meat. Now, like, if you want to be a savage, for sure, you could just sit there and you could waste a shit ton of meat by just sitting there eating it or whatever and then throwing away carcasses. But to really preserve, to really process, to really hone in, to really make it as efficient, long-lasting, the best cuts, the best flavors, the best pieces, to use the whole animal, you really need to become a butcher and learn how to break down these animals, break down these carcasses, and really utilize everything to get the fullest extent with the best flavor profile, and to be able to preserve it, honestly, too. That's a huge thing. The second thing that I wanted to mention, too, was, man, holy shit, becoming a butcher. Like, these butchers are fucking artists. Like, no kidding. I could not believe how amazing of a skill I was learning. It was one part being amazing and another part just understanding full right. So let me first explain as to why I'm no longer, right? The reason why I even got into it was, one, a skill for me, and two, because this was actually research for my next book, right? I'll kind of give the tale away here a little bit. A big part of my next book is going to be understanding that for every culture, that food, language and food, kind of the first two things, language and food, are pretty much the two foundations for any culture, like the backbone of any culture. Food is absolutely important. And I think that's why we have such a loss of culture here in the United States as well, is that people aren't connected to their food. They don't know where food comes from, and we're just eating god-awful food. It's absolutely terrible for you. Going back, though, to these guys being masters, it is a craft that takes years and years and years. One of the best correlations I could give you is that becoming a butcher is very, very similar to Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, right? It's not something that you could just walk in like a karate and become a black belt in 2, 3, 5 years, right? In order to become a master butcher, it's going to take you 10 plus years, right? That's where you get your black belt, and then you just start learning from there. The butcher that I worked for, this is things that people don't realize, like when it comes down to it. Even sharpening your knives, picking the knives, like what knives you're going to purchase for your tools, sharpening each one of them takes years and years and years for you to get the right edge on that blade for you to make the right and precise cuts. Then you got to talk about actually knowing how to dispatch the animal, hang the animal, clean the animal, right? Clean the carcass, clean the meat, dry age it. Once it's ready for it to be processed, now you know how you have to learn how to break that quarter down. Then from there you need to learn how to break that quarter down and what's disposable, what's not to be used, what the client wants, what actual cuts actually sell, how to trim those cuts perfectly to make them the right exact cut with the right exact thickness. Sometimes there's different types of cuts and there's different types of names. All of this takes years. And then the biggest factor was like actually having to cut. So like you could have all of this knowledge, right? Just like with jiu-jitsu, just like with fighting. You could sit there and you could be the Joe Rogan of information when it comes to being able to talk about fighting. But then it comes down to actually having to perform it, right? And the ability to actually cut is so artistic. It is literally like a painter with a brush. It takes years and years and years for you to learn the right strokes to be able to maximize and not mess up these cuts of meat. I swear to you, this was one of the biggest epiphanies that I had ever in this job. It really put a lot of things into perspective in my life, and then it also put a lot of things into perspective moving forward too, because if you guys all remember, one of my biggest goals is to set up an academy that's going to kind of substitute as like a lifestyle academy for men. And I think we're going to raise and we're going to husband animals there. And one of the biggest things that I want to ensure, because this is a dying art as well, the butchering is really a dying art. And one of the biggest things that I want to do is make sure that we have seasoned butchers there that actually run an apprenticeship program for men to learn basic butchering skills, and if they want to go further, to continue down the road. And then the next part is to make sure that these guys that are butchering these animals at our academy and XYZ, right, because it's going to be for the sustenance of the academy, not for sale, that these guys are paid very well, because it was one of those jobs, it was one of those things that I learned. It really just put so much into perspective. Like, my respect for that craft, for that trade, knows no bounds at this point in time, because it was just, like I said, it was the most fun. It was literally the best job I think I ever had, minus, which is what I'll get into next. Here's what the downfall was for me, and here's what the downfall is for that job field in particular, though, is unfortunately my boss, he didn't have a life. He didn't have any ability to really go and do anything outside of that, because he's one of the few people in the area, in the world, that are able to do what he does, because it's in such low, I don't want to say low demand, but it has such low luster when it comes to people that want to go and do this, that he gets all this work and he's making all this money, but that's all he can do. And as you know, for me, I believe in this type of lifestyle where the way I live is, if I'm working, I work for money to sustain my lifestyle. I don't work as a lifestyle, if that makes any sense to you. I'm not working because I feel the need that I have to just continue to work. I work to supplement my lifestyle. So to supplement my lifestyle, I'm fighting. I'm training at the gym. I'm eating a certain particular way. I'm doing different things to make sure that I'm well balanced. I'm taken care of, and so forth, right? And that was honestly one of the biggest downfalls, on top of the fact that, when I do work, I need to feel some sense of progress, and that I'm going to be able to make more money. And I like to work in fields that provide me with that type of deal. So going back to the update, I decided to move from Flagstaff. I actually really did not like it up there that much. During the winter, it was great. I shouldn't even say great. It was very desolate. I was in a very remote location too, by the way, and I could talk about that at another point. But it just didn't have the, even the gyms that I was going to or anything like that. It just didn't have the type of people that I was really looking to be around, that I really want to have as far as my core group. So I actually ended up moving down to Tempe. And I got some stories. Holy fuck, do I have some stories. That's another reason why I want to hop back on here, but I got some stories. Anyway, so I took a pretty good sales job out here that kind of ran me through the gauntlet. I wasn't able to, I was lifting, but I wasn't able to fight. And then finally I got in a pretty good position here now and made some moves where I'm able to work in a pretty good situation and be able to fight and train and mentor and be able to do stuff like this on the side. So actually that just changed within the last couple weeks, which I'm excited about. So I got some funds coming in. I got my ability to train. FYI too, I switched it up. I'm focusing mostly on MMA now rather than just strictly jiu-jitsu. So I'm doing a lot of no-gi, a lot of stand-up, a lot of wrestling and all that good stuff. Having lifting as a supplementation. And I'm gonna do this as a supplement. I'm gonna kick this channel back off. I got some ideas, I got some things, but I just kind of want to drop in and say what's up to everybody, give an update of what's going on, show my face, get back on the camera, have a little bit of fun, and keep the fun going. So stand by. I got some stories for you. I got some ideas. I got some topics. Got some things I want to discuss. I got some things to weigh in on. And you know what? I might even do a couple react videos here in the future too. So stand by. And as you guys always know, like, share. If you're not subscribed, subscribe. If you haven't purchased any of my books, please do. We got A Patriarch's Vision, Purging Feminism on Amazon, Live Your Best Life in 30 Days on Amazon. Look me up, Lysander Kaligo on Gumroad. We got Sex and Sales if you're struggling or want to get into the sales world and you want to relate that over to your relationships. And then another cool book I have on Gumroad as well is Initiation into Violence, which gives you essentially a breakdown into how to get started into martial arts. Mainly, I'm talking about Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu and Muay Thai or stand-up. So if any of what I talked about today suits your fancy, I have plenty of products for you to read. But do me a huge favor and just give this a thumbs up. Give me a comment saying, hey, I love having you back. And actually, you know what I'd like to hear too? Give me some comments on some videos you guys want me to react to. And as always, if you want to DM me, feel free to reach out to me on Twitter at Lysander the God. At Lysander the God on Twitter. Shoot me a DM on some videos you want me to react to. Send me those videos and we'll rock and roll that way. But anyway, good to be back. Good to talk to you guys. Send some love. See ya.